What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Common Sense Living the Shore. We discuss financial and economic trends, business topics, gold and silver, and much, much more. So, today I want to talk about Social Security, how we can fix Social Security, and why, in my opinion, the expected date of it to begin running out, and that date is 2034, it may be sooner than what is predicted right now by the actuaries. Now, important point, those benefits they're going to start being reduced, the amount that's being paid out. It's expected that it's going to drop to about 77% by 2034. So again, the fund's not going to completely run out, but the shortfall is going to really start to begin around that time. Now, personally, I think that shortfall is going to be a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot more drastic, and we know Social Security, it's a pay-as-you-go system, which simply means Social Security is taking taxes from people working today, and then it's funding people collecting Social Security payments, so the retirees. Now, right now, Social Security tax, it's 6.2 for employees, and employers will match it 6.2% as well. Um, Self-employed people, they pay the whole amount, and if you're making over about $150,000, then you won't have to pay Social Security on the amount that you're making over $150,000. Now, one thing to point out is that about 85 cents of what's going to fund Social Security recipients, or 85 out of every dollar, about 85 cents is going to fund Social Security recipients, while about 15% goes to fund people with disabilities. Now, I think there's a few reasons we could have a serious depletion in the fund again. First reason is that there's just too much debt in the system right now, and there's not enough productivity and innovation going on right now in the economy. And that's what we really need to drive the economy. It's what's happened the last 70, 80 years, even before then. Our debt to GDP ratio, it's around 120. It's the highest it's been since World War II. And it doesn't seem like that trend's going to be reversing anytime soon. Younger generation, they want more work-life balance. There's already talk about a 32-hour work week. Uh, Large companies, they keep getting bigger and bigger, and they keep squeezing out the little guy. And we know innovation comes from small companies. It comes from competition, entrepreneurship, and sure, big companies, they innovate, they contribute, but there's usually more layers in big corporations, and people just tend to do what their job is, their specialized job. And larger companies, they tend to be public. They've got responsibility to the shareholder and the stakeholder, and they're not as enthusiastic about funding new projects, spending new money. They've got to worry about returning that money to their stockholders. Now, we have, of course, our national debt is astronomical. Student debt is just massive, as well as credit card debt and other types of debts, which are going to make everything tougher down the road. Now, the second reason that I think Social Security is going to fall well short of that 2034 date, we're going to start seeing problems later in the decade, is the gig economy. Now, we're seeing a lot of younger people working side hustles, multiple part-time jobs, and the governments, they've been having problems taxing these. And we know Uncle Sam knows this with the increase in reporting limits for the 1099K. They moved the threshold down from 20,000 to 600. It was supposed to go in effect this year when you filed this year, but it's actually going to go into effect next year. In December of last year, they just decided that it was just probably going to be too much of a shock, too much confusion. But next year it will happen. So, for example, if I sold $1,000 of things on eBay last year, this year I wouldn't have to report that. But next year, when I file in 2024 for the 2023 tax year, I'm going to have to report that $1,000 of things I'm selling on eBay. And there's a lot wrong with this, in terms of the eBay situation or the eBay example. It's not actually factoring in what I paid for that $1,000 of goods. It's just taking that number there and taxing it. Now, one thing to point out again is that they're going after the little guy here. This is going to hurt consumption when they go after the average American. It's going to lower the GDP, and that's going to keep the debt growing and growing. Now, the third reason that I think the Social Security will have issues is simply just the demographics. So, the youngest of the baby boomer generation, it's about 59 years old. And the simple fact of the matter is that the number of workers is less than what we need to continue supporting payouts. People are having fewer and fewer kids, and we've seen the birth rate decline by quite a bit. And I fully expect that trend will continue. Now, there's really two ways Congress can handle increasing the Social Security balance and the reserve fund. First is to cut benefits, which they're already, we've already seen that they're beginning to talk about that, early 2030s. Second is to raise taxes. Now, I personally believe the taxes are going to be getting raised, and for the most part, people just really aren't going to notice. I think that what we should be doing is raising the taxes on this for large companies only. Those companies that are skirting the law with accounting gimmicks and offshoring profits. And I also believe that self-employed people and small businesses should not be paying that 6.2% like the larger companies. Now, there's also a lot of state pension liabilities that are underfunded as well. I'll have to do a video on that. Last point is that younger generations, they seem to be planning better for retirement than the baby boomers have done. And it's probably fair to say maybe it's not them specifically, it's just the fact that they're using defined contribution plans and they're better than these defined benefit plans. So, defined contribution plans, the responsibility is really on the individual, whereas defined benefit it falls on these companies or the government. Now, one thing to point out is those plans are heavily dependent on the stock market, and just maybe the bond market or real estate, depending on what your 401k or IRAs are invested in. And things are not really looking good the next few years for our economy. So, future generations are probably not going to be as dependent on Social Security as retirees today. But what are your thoughts on this? Please comment, like, subscribe. Thanks for turning in. Appreciate it.